Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another exciting time where we sit with speakers and we present an opportunity for them to share their heart, their ideas, and what they've been working on with the world. So, my name is Dr. Chi Chi Styles, also known as Edna Frenchwood. I'm very happy to have here with me today Susan Troth and Ambassador Shayna Boutte. Hello, ladies.
Good morning,
Good
almost
morning.
afternoon.
Almost afternoon. It's afternoon somewhere in the world,
That's
but
right.
here is still on our show. So, without wasting any further time, we are presenting this event during the UNGA United Nations event happening at New York, and it was important for us to discuss the social media era. Ambassador Shayna and I had a conversation about how important it was to have discussions about social media etiquette just because of the state of the country and what people are going through, and people just need to be polite to one another and be kinder. And she'll talk a little bit about that because in her line of work, she does deal with the impact of social media and the well-being of folks that are dealing with bullying and all sorts of things that go with what happens on spaces like social media. So that was an important topic when we talk about the sustainability goals of the United Nations, to bring up a topic like that in this season. As far as Susan Troth, we're very excited because we know that the value of hope is key when we have, hangings and, death in our streets every day. And it's whether we like it or not, it's happening. So to talk about the power of hope and what it can do for you is key and very important for this season. So again, I'm very grateful for everyone that will watch these TED style videos, and share them with your friends and family who need to find out how to deal with our season, heal, and be able to help others. And without wasting any further time, I'm going to welcome our first speaker onto the stage. Her name is Susan Troth, and Susan is a best-selling author, a coach, a professor of over close to 20-something years, and she's going to be speaking to us today about hope. Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It is really a privilege to be here, and we need a bedrock of hope in a digital age. With all the trauma and changes in the world that are highlighted by digital media, youth are having to deal with way too much. And that is what this UN event is focusing on today. Too many of us have naively taken a back seat, passively missing opportunities to help the next generation find healing, hope, and new horizons. However, history shows us that hardships are the opportunity that we are looking for. Sadly, I know from experience, and I want to inspire you to believe that regardless of the level of hardship you, your brother, sister, or friend have had to endure or have had to witness on social media, there is a foundation of hope that we can all stand upon. In 2017, I hit rock bottom. My husband of 32 years suddenly died. I was 54, widowed, childless, scared, and alone and very far from family. The next day, I was walking our dog and I hesitated at the bottom of the hill. I was really too depressed and scared to take the next step because you see, my husband had died walking the dog on that very same path. But in the stillness of the morning, I heard a gentle voice from God say to me in my spirit, "Do you see how I took care of Ronnie? I will be that perfect and precise as I take care of you." And suddenly I remembered the route that we took when we walked the dog always did sidewalk and then a patch of grass, and then you stepped out into the street, onto the concrete. And it was there in that patch of grass, that small patch of grass, that my husband, who was 6'5" and had long steps, God took him to heaven. He did not have a scratch on him. And suddenly I was given hope. I wasn't alone. God was going to take care of me that perfectly and precisely. And so I lifted my head and I squared my shoulders and I walked up that sidewalk. You see, I didn't have hope because I was perfect or the news was good or the circumstances were easy. I had hope because I remembered that God is my shepherd and my shepherd will take care of me. So I began to fill my life with books and counseling and support groups and God's word. And I began to emerge as a peaceful, joyful woman of hope. But God wasn't finished. He suddenly smashed the clay again. And in 5 days, in January 2020, I went from a diagnosis of bronchitis in the ICU with renal failure, sepsis, and double pneumonia to suddenly, I was from bronchitis, suddenly about to die. I was crushed. When I left the hospital, I had to use a cane to walk. I was broken on the outside and I became very bitter on the inside. I was so angry with God and I isolated myself from him and from others. But a few weeks later, I reminded myself that God was sovereign and I desperately wanted to be close with my shepherd again. So I picked up my Bible, began to pray, and I surrendered to God that night. I turned to the bedrock of hope because this is where we find our strength to endure with the barrage of bad news and our hardships. This is how we continue to fulfill our purpose in life. This bedrock does not change. And our hope is based on H, the Holy Bible. O is obedience. P is prayer. And then E is endurance. This hope, this bedrock will not fail when the storms of life come. And what I did was I took a rock to picture my bedrock and I wrote hope on it. And then I put it in my garden or on a planter or on a counter. And it reminds me of my bedrock of hope that I have that weathers any storm and that doesn't change. This is the firm foundation. This is our path to find healing, hope, and new horizons in a turbulent age. It is a hopeful path. It's a strong bedrock, and I give it to you.
Wow. Great, great presentation, Susan. Thank you for sharing the of hope. There we go. So how do we get a rock? How do we get our own rock if we need to?
You know what's so funny is I went to actually Hobby Lobby and I'm sorry, there's some disruptions here.
It's okay.
I actually went to Hobby Lobby, but you know what? There's rocks all in our neighborhoods, but you can actually buy little rocks, like a bag of rocks that are nice and clean, or you can just walk in your neighborhood and get a Sharpie and write hope on it because it's a wonderful reminder. And if you want it on your phone, I took a picture of it. So even on my phone, I have a picture of a sidewalk with the verse, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. And I also have a screensaver of the bedrock of hope, of the rock.
Amazing, amazing. I'm so grateful that you got a chance to share your TED style presentation today about the bedrock of hope to our guests and our crowd. We're going to bring up Ambassador Shana Boutte, who's going to talk about the social media era right now. So, Ambassador Boutte, are you ready? I'm going to bring you up on stage. If you are, here you go. The floor is yours.
We can use social media to expand peace. As a mental health professional, my number one ethical goal is simple: do no harm. It is not just a professional guideline, it's also my personal goal in life. As a United Nations Ambassador of Peace, I carry this responsibility with me every single day. Of course, being human, I fall short sometimes. I can be my toughest critic. But I also know that peace begins with practice, offering the same empathy to myself that I offer others. So how does this principle, do no harm, connect with our use of social media? Do no harm means more than avoiding physical harm. It also means avoiding emotional, psychological, and spiritual harm. It means not triggering trauma or distress, not overloading others, and not stigmatizing or marginalizing people. It means respecting dignity, being culturally sensitive, and honoring boundaries. In short, it's about creating safe and supportive spaces. But when we look around at today's media, including social media, we see a lot of division. So we must ask, if we speak out, are we adding to division? If we stay silent, are we supporting peace, or is silence in some cases a type of harm? Social media algorithms make this even more complicated. They don't just show us information. They shape what we see, feeding us more of what we click, read, and share. Over time, this can lead people down rabbit holes towards polarization or even radicalization. And behind these systems are people who design algorithms rooted in psychology, but often without conscience or soul. It raises questions about human motives, power, money, influence, and that leads us to something very important, the role of ego. Now, ego is often misunderstood. We usually think of it as inflated self-importance, but really ego is simply our conscious sense of self, or our I. Ego is often displayed in the newsmakers we follow, the types of posts we view, the ads we see, and the threads with which we tend to interact. It also impacts our posts, which reflect our mindset. Ego states, on the other hand, are modes of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Ego state focuses on different behavioral and emotional states one can be in during different interactions or self-reflection. Ego is a broader, general concept referring to the self with a small s, or identity. It makes internal conflicts between desires, moral values, and reality. Ego states, on the other hand, are specific ways we interact with the world based on different internalized perspectives. It's more about how we respond to situations, depending on the state we are in. But we need to have cultural awareness around this. For example, in Japan, there are about 20 ways to say I, depending on the life role being fulfilled. Mother has a different I than child, and I at work is different than either of those roles. We all shift between these states, but when we misuse them, for example, when we become overly critical, controlling, or overly rational when empathy is needed, we create harm. Social media is filled with examples of this. Ego can be misused for self-promotion, or ego states may be misapplied in ways that divide instead of unite. So we have to ask ourselves 2 questions. Who are we following? People with inflated egos or those with balanced ego states? And just as important, what kind of example are we being to others? The good news is that we can use social media for peace. We can make it a safe space where people feel comfortable discussing mental health without fear of judgment. We can reduce stigma, build inclusive communities, and support policies that protect dignity and access to care. And in our everyday online lives, we can apply do no harm in practical ways. Here are 6 simple ways. 1, be mindful of accuracy. Check facts before sharing. 2, respect privacy. Don't post what isn't yours to share and ask all in a photo before posting the photo. 3, use respectful language. Words matter. 4, beware of impact. Think about how your post might affect others. 5, protect your own well-being. Take breaks when needed and guard content for your mental wellness. And 6, promote positive engagement. Share hope, encouragement, and resources. And here's a helpful check before posting as well as a list when considering to no longer follow. Ask yourself 4 questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And for me personally, does it fit with where God is leading me? Social media can divide us, but it can also unite us. It can cause harm, or it can be a source of peace. Each of us has the power to use it wisely to promote peace, compassion, and dignity. Each of us has the power to use it wisely to promote peace, compassion, and dignity. So I invite you to join me in this commitment. Every time we engage online, let's remember the principle that guides my life and work. Do no harm. Because when we live by that, we're not just avoiding harm. We are actively responding to an invitation to create peace. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Absolutely impressive, Shayna. I believe that I have learned several things. I have to go back and watch the video and take notes because I have to think of safer ways to check myself before posting on social media. I remember the words "be kind," and what I love about TED style presentations is the power to be able to ask people to take action and to be able to leave them with the opportunity to see change after listening to your speech. They can actually put a practical plan together of how to begin to monitor what they do with social media. And I'm grateful for that. Like Susan shared, I need to get a rock and write hope on it and be reminded, take it on my phone, use it as a placeholder, because if I don't have that, some days I'll think it's impossible to survive but there's a potential to survive if you lean on hope and on the words that God has provided. I have a question for Shayna from Casey Design Online. So, Kate, the question here, I'm going to show it at the bottom of the screen. It says, "Hey Shayna, to what extent do likes, shares, and comment encourage more extreme content?"
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I couldn't see the
To
question.
what extent do likes, shares, and comments encourage more extreme content? So if someone has extreme content, let's
Mhm.
say someone's bullying someone, and that
Yeah.
content becomes popular because everyone wants to share it, does that encourage people to continue to misbehave because they see that, well, everybody likes it, so we're going to go on that bandwagon?
That's
Um,
right. And also the algorithms follow that. So they tend to show more content by that author, and then they try to show more content similar to that content. And that's the rabbit hole that social media presents. But our media also does that. I mean, I made this specifically about social media, but media does that. So when you find a news source that feeds from a certain slant or an angle, then they feed more of that same content. So the writers are the same writers they continue to hire to write the news stories. And the sources they go to are the same sources they continue to go to. So again, you're going back to the authors and you're going back to deeper content. And then the encouragement for the viewers is do your own research. But here, but then they reference the sites, right? They reference the same sources over and over. So they keep wanting you to dig deeper and deeper within those resources that they quote. But the same thing is true with social media. So that's how people get down rabbit holes. And they're like, oh, I started researching this thing and it's this way. And these little jabs keep happening that create more division. So when I'm researching news, I look left, I look right, I look center, and I look internationally. So the algorithms that follow my media sources can't lead me in a certain direction. So I don't see political posts on Facebook. I don't see people arguing politically. I don't see trash talk. I don't see negativity. And the people I follow stay positive, and I see lots of videos of fluffy, cute animals doing happy, wonderful things and building unusual friendships. And I see feeds that unite beings and stories that are uplifting. And that's what I see on my Facebook. That's what I see on Instagram. That's what I see. That's what I see on everything, all of my social media across the board. There are no exceptions
Your
because of the
recommendation.
way that I research and what I post.
So are you recommending that we form our own algorithms to see the things we want to see versus everything that's out there? Is that your recommendation in answering that extreme content question?
What I'm doing is creating awareness so people can guard their thoughts, their words, and their actions.
That's right.
So some people want to be led down a certain path. It feeds the dialogue they already have internally, and they don't want to change that. I'm not encouraging them to change that. What I am saying is if you want to create an atmosphere of peace, there are different ways to do that. Here's a way that I found that works for me. And if this is something that people are interested in pursuing, here's a way to do it that works.
And as part of the UN sustainability goals, we have to talk about peace, our communities, our welfare. And I thank you so much for those questions. I'm going to bring Susan up. Our guest, we have someone has two questions for you in the crowd. Susan, the first question is, what is the difference between hope and blind optimism?
And let me say real quick, I loved what Shana was saying about not triggering traumas, because when we go through trauma, there's a neural pathway and it can be triggered, and that's incredibly difficult to deal with. So hope is it's like a calm assurance of a future result. And it's different from just wishing, man, I hope it doesn't rain today. Wishful thinking, or what was the other term you used, Dr.
Blind
Chichi?
optimism.
Blind optimism. So using the adjective of blind would say that it's not an optimism that is embedded in a certainty. And there's not a whole lot of certainties in life. There's, you know, death is a certainty for all of us. When that will happen, we don't know. I don't want to be negative. So, I mean, there's not a lot of certainties. There's some tried and true truths that have been tested over thousands of years. And so that's why for the bedrock of being put in something that's just not a blind optimism, but something that's been tested. And, the word trust comes to mind. What can we trust? And being able to trust people or trust something or trust a process is incredibly important.
And so when we trust in the word of God, that is
Mhm.
going to bring us hope,
Mhm.
then we know that as we do the action of writing it down on paper, we're not going on blind optimism. There's
Right.
actually hope involved in believing that word, that it will be a manifestation of what we believe in.
That's right.
Is the end result of a problem or trauma. The next
Mm.
question for you is, how can communities, workplaces, or families cultivate hope collectively?
Well, that's great. So being able, I love part of what I teach I have an online workshop that I'm developing, and part of that is there's a connection in the scripture between hope and wisdom. And I love the book of Proverbs, and that's those are the journaling prompts in my workshop. They're all from the book of Proverbs. So that community that is around us, that we choose wise counselors, wise friends, wise community that supports us. I know our workplaces, maybe you have an inner circle in your workplace of those that are really trustworthy and are very wise. And so we need to be wise. We can have I can have lots of friends, but there's only a small circle that is I'm going to go to when I have those prayer requests, when I have the difficult times. And that helps cultivate that wisdom, circle of wisdom helps to cultivate hope for each other.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Those are the questions we have for today. I am going to bring us all back to the stage, and I'd like for you to take the time to just share where folks can find you on social media, and where your information is, either your book or your programs are online, so folks can find you and support you and be a part of what you're doing as you make changes in that community now during this UN season and in the future.
Yeah.
I'll go with you, Ambassador Shana, first.
You can find me through my website, which is shanaboutte.com. That's SHANABOUTTE.com. And you can also find me on Instagram, Shana Boutte, one word, SHANABOUTTE.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And where can we find you, Susan?
SusanTroth.com, just like it on the screen, SUSANTROTH. And my first book that I released just received an award at the New York Book Festival in the self-help category, because it goes through an acronym for helping to heal. And then I wrote a companion guide to that book so groups could come together, that wise community come together and study it and journey together. I'm working on my module for building a bedrock of hope. That's going to be I hate to say hopefully, wishfully released in the new year, because it's gonna be quite a thorough. It's going to be 3 modules, 9 videos, and I'm trying to think. Stress to Splest. That's the name of the book on Amazon. Stress to Splest. Splest is the acronym for surrendering and finding healing, hope, and new horizons.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Susan.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to see you.
It's great to see you.
I know we were all at the UN in February this year doing the CSW, so it's very nice to be back here again and to be sharing it, especially during Anga, when folks are coming from all over the world to discuss matters that will improve our lives as individuals and as a community. I'm so grateful to have had both of you here in this live event to talk about hope and the digital media era. I love you both, and I know I will talk to you both personally. And thank you to all our guests who are going to watch, share, review. Thank you to Mr. Casey Design, who dropped some questions in for us today to share with others about what people are thinking when they watch this video on a replay. Again, thank you guys so much. I'm Dr. Chi Styles. You can find us at .com. And thank you, ladies. Love you.
Thank y'all.
Bless you.
Much love to you, Dr. Chichi. Thank you, Susan. It's so good to see you. And again, congratulations. What a beautiful presentation.
Thank
You guys did a great
Good
job
day.
for TED Talks. Let's going to my TED folks people in Houston, and we'll see what they say about your speeches and give us some feedback. I'll make them drop the feedback in the group chat.
Oh, how
so
cool.
that we
Thank
can
you.
come
Thank
back
you.
and you guys can see it publicly
Mhm.
and at least get feedback. And then when the time comes, you'll be sent into a space where you'll prepare for your own potentially opportunity to do a TED Talk. I'm excited for that.
Great.
That's great. Thank you again.
Thank
for
you.
taking the leap of faith and publicly stepping out to do a TED style speech for us today and empower our communities. God bless you both. God bless you, everyone that's going to watch, and see you guys later. Bye.
All right.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.